Why did I do that? I
Good
didn't know
evening.
what was happening. I did not
Opening.
stop it.
Opening the Board of Health meeting on June 5th, 2024. Roll call. Present Amy Vigant.
Patrick Tropiano here.
Lawrence Perry.
Jillian could not make it tonight.
I make a motion, we move Larry up for the purposes of this meeting.
And I second that.
Patrick Tropiano, yes?
And Amy Vigant, yes.
All
And
right.
anyone
You're in,
else?
Larry.
Yep. So first on is discussion and possible vote on Dusk Till Dawn Tattoo Body Art Piercing Practitioner Approval. It doesn't say does it say the name of the practitioner?
Elizabeth Chase.
It's probably on another paper. Yes, it is. Okay. That's for Elizabeth Chase, saying hello. Somebody already is in the seat. Welcome. Good evening. Nice day. Would you like to present first and tell us about yourself? And
Yep, so I'm the owner of Dusk Till Dawn Tattoo Studio. I've been tattooing and piercing for almost 8 years now. I have been working tattooing at the studio for about 1.5 years now, and I've been trying to get piercers in to do piercing themselves, but it's been difficult, so I'm gonna hopefully take over the piercing part too. I think that's pretty much it.
okay. Did you have any comments, Sam?
So my only issue with it is that we have been told,
Oh, excuse me. I should have mentioned also that Patrick McDonald, our agent, is out today.
yes,
And so Sam is taking over for today for the meeting.
so from our understanding, there has already been unpermitted piercing being done. I did talk to Liz about it. She did admit there was a mistake. In LA, your body art license is also for your piercing license. So from my understanding, she assumed Wareham was the same. I did make her aware there is 2 separate permits,
Well, I mean, it's,
but it's also in our regulations. But there was piercing being done unpermitted. It is set up already for piercing to be done in the studio.
Can we look at this would be a good chance to look at our regs on, we have them at the back of this little package, section 2, body art establishments and practitioners. It says piercing and tattooing at the top. So just,
Yep, there's two separate, they're
okay.
separated in the actual regulations.
Okay,
but
so let's go through that.
it does go over both.
do you have a copy of the license, her license?
From LA or from here?
From here.
I could,
I don't care about Los Angeles, this is in LA.
let me go on Viewpoint really quick.
Yeah, I'd like to see a copy of the license, what it says on it.
Yep.
Does it say,
Let's do
does it say
Yeah.
body art, or does it say body art piercing?
And where is it?
Bold letters, body art practitioner, and then small below it, it says tattoo artist.
So it doesn't say piercing?
No, and I had realized that after only a couple of days, and that's when I stopped and came in and immediately tried to get the permit.
So it appears that on page 11 of 14 in our regs, there's an application for body art establishment permit. That you need a, whoops, did we just?
No, we're still there.
Tattoo, yeah, you have to, obviously.
And then, that's number 10, then number 11 is application for body art that's the apprentice license in piercing and tattooing. That's for apprentice.
She told me already, it doesn't say piercing on it, that's all I needed to know, sir.
Okay, yeah, I didn't
And
think
then,
it did.
but so if you look at our, I want to be clear in the regs, and then number 12 on our regs, application for body art practitioner permit, piercing and tattooing. No person shall practice body art or perform any body art procedure without first obtaining practitioner permit from the board. Do you know in here where it separates them out on our regs now?
I mean, it
So on part
does say
12,
piercing practitioner permit,
right, so on
Two
number
different
12.
permits, right?
Right, well, that's what I'm trying, in our,
but
I
if you
don't see
go,
that.
if you go on Viewpoint, which every tattoo or piercer in here has done, it'll say body art practitioner, it'll say piercing or it'll say tattooing. So it separates it on Viewpoint when you apply,
And viewpoint is how they have to apply.
how they apply for their permits. So there is
Okay.
2 separate permits, it's very clear on there, there's 2 separate permits.
Okay. So it would be nice then that our regs, I mean.
Well, that's what we're gonna go over today, so we
Right,
could add
and we'll do
that.
that after, that it's totally clear.
Mhm.
And it does say in section, if you look on number 12, application for body art practicing permit, piercing and tattooing, it's quite long. Talks about application shall include date of birth and your name. Training for all practitioners shall be approved by the board, and a minimal shall include bloodborne pathogen training program, certificate in first aid, you probably saw this. The applicant for a piercing practitioner permit shall provide documentation, so that it does label it in part C that it's separate from at
Part
least
C,
a.
which section? Sorry, I
If you
lost
look
it.
at number 12,
12. Yep. Mm,
as 8,
Yep.
12D, 8C, it's a little confusing the way it does.
Yeah, I see that, yep.
So it does say that if you apply for a practitioner, which you would assume that that's separate from the other, from that one statement.
Yes.
But it could perhaps be a little clearer in our regs anyway, that they are 2 totally separate. Because at the top of the page, it says
Yeah.
piercing and tattooing.
Yep, I mean,
Right.
it does
So-
cover both, but it
So
could be a
when you
little
go
clearer.
on to the website to get the first, do you
I
know what?
couldn't actually find it. I had tried to find the right link on the Viewpoint,
Mhm.
but I had emailed Robin to kind of help me upload it through
Mhm.
email. I do know what you're talking about. I have found it before. I just couldn't find it this time. And everything was just kind of chaotic between losing my piercer and trying to keep everything going. I just dove in head first before fully realizing what I was doing. And as soon as I noticed I'm not licensed for piercing, I came in the same day and I was like,
Okay.
what do I do?
Yeah.
I did not realize I didn't need to.
And so at this point, when was that you noticed that?
That was like early May. I forget what day it was.
So since May, you haven't been doing any piercing
No,
in
and
the
I
shop?
can
Well,
even
May
check
11th, you did a
text
piercing.
It was in May, but I have text messages since then just showing I'm waiting for the meeting on June 5th. I can do it after that if I'm approved.
And
Yeah,
you have an event scheduled for tomorrow, is that correct?
I do have appointments. I've been scheduling appointments for tomorrow if I'm approved, as long as I'm approved.
You know,
I think it is-
I have a little bit of a problem here, I have to say. The problem is that you had a gentleman who came last week to get a apprentice license. Was it last meeting, right? Get an
Correct.
apprentice license, who had been already tattooing and putting up tattoos on the website and the whole 9 yards about tattoos that he already done. And now you come and you want a piercing license, and you've already been doing piercings. So there seems to be, to me, and you know, if all you had to do is read your license, and your license, you get a license, no, if I get my license, the first thing I do is read it. I don't know about you, but I read
It's
it.
just been up on the wall for like, I'm not quite.
But
a
you
year.
must have read it when you got it. And you know that it doesn't, just because LA has something,
It was
that
just the
doesn't
most
mean that we
recent
have it
thing.
here. I mean, you know, you're in a different place. And so, you know, I just think that, you know, there's a lack of wanting to follow the rules, in my opinion.
I can show you all the text messages from that date. The second I found out, I had been telling people I can't do it now.
Well, you found out, you should have known all along. I mean, I'm sorry, but you just should have. I mean, this is not, this is just, I mean, if this was my business, I'd know everything about it. I can tell you that. And I know everything about my business that I'm in right now. I'll tell you that. And if I don't know, I'll go find out before I do something.
There was also a past piercer that she did have that did come to the board, who did get his permit here, so you knew the process.
Well, he was
Geo
a new
did it.
person, so I obviously would need a permit.
You know,
What was that? I didn't hear that.
I had had a different piercer before, and I'd gotten permitted.
you know, the problem with this is that I'm a business-friendly guy, and I want businesses to go well. I want them to survive. I want you to have what you need to have. But at the same instance, I feel like you need a penalty for what you've done. So I'm almost willing to give you give this license, but hold it for a period of time, a couple of weeks or whatever, just to say, you know, you gotta follow the rules. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm also a rule guy. I like people who say, follow the rules. I just do. You know, it's fair to everybody. You know, every place has to follow the rules. And if they don't, it's problematic. And it's not just piercing, you know, just so you know, I'm talking about the rules of all this stuff. And it's not that I'm, what do they call those people that are rule crazy? It's not that I'm rule crazy at all, because I've been doing this a long, long time as on the Board of Selectmen. Since 1991, I've sat on boards. And I've always felt like there's just certain things that you gotta follow and you gotta pay attention to. And this is one of them. And you can't be posting it up online. You know, just so you know, the worst thing in the world is the internet. Because you post stuff up online, guess what? Everybody sees it. You know, including health agents. So I'm not sure how I'm gonna do this, but, you know, the rest of you can tone in however you feel.
I'm just looking specifically here too.
Are there different prerequisites for training for piercing as opposed to tattooing? Are there different courses they need, anatomy type courses?
wanna
or
s-
bloodborne pathogens?
I wanna say they both require the same 5 documents to be submitted.
I'm just trying to understand why they are separate licenses. They're
Yeah,
not
no,
state
that's-
licenses, right? They're local licenses.
No, the training is a little bit, perhaps a
Training's
little bit
state.
I don't
different.
exactly know.
I think the training's a little bit different.
Whether if you,
The training itself to learn how each skill is different, very
Right,
different,
right.
but the paperwork was the exact same.
Yeah, right. I figured it was.
So there's no additional
It's two completely different.
prerequisites of training other than,
I mean,
sometimes they have so many years of under.
Well, you certainly want
as an
basically
apprentice,
the-
is that-
what-
yeah,
anatomy do
like
they
she
do?
had,
The anatomy and physiology
yeah,
course?
do they do a little,
Yeah.
there's a paragraph here, what you're not allowed to pierce, which is quite, I'm very surprised that people pierce some of these things, but I don't read them all out loud.
Yeah, probably not.
So you have to know anatomy.
Let's not be reading those.
we did need proof of past experience when piercing, so in LA, their permit is the same for body art and piercing. So that is what she
But she has
submitted.
both,
So for say, LA was separate, she'd have to prove a separate permit,
Mhm.
yeah, right.
but it's the same, so
But
in
I'm
this
not even,
instance.
I'm not even saying that she isn't qualified. I'll bet you're qualified like
Yeah.
crazy. You
No,
know.
that's not my, that's definitely not my concern either.
Qualifications, I'm not talking about at all.
No.
There's quite a few things that are prohibited under piercing.
Mhm.
Or-
Yeah.
I'm thinking it would have been easier to write what you can pierce rather than what you can't.
Yeah.
Now, how many parts are there? I mean, come on.
Too many.
A lot of restrictions.
Yeah,
Yes,
they're
there
not
is.
actually that many restrictions, I mean, I've read them, I've read them, but usually they're the, you wouldn't want people piercing those two places. Although,
Some
I've
people
seen
may.
them.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've seen some of them too.
Is that state, that's from the state, right?
What,
The
the,
prohibitions for piercing, I think that's where we got these from.
there was in 2019, so I don't remember,
Yeah,
I wasn't
think we
here.
brought- I think we brought them in from the state, or we just pulled it forward, because it used to be something else, and we pulled it all forward from the state.
That would make
so,
sense.
I don't think we would have written those all out like that.
All I know is some of these people, with some of the things they pierce, they're a lot tougher people than I am.
So your thoughts, right?
if we're worried about, penalizing someone for doing something without a permit, in Lakeville, we had a precedent where if somebody did something without a permit, we doubled the permit fee. And then as long as they were qualified, we'd give them the license. So if that's.
You know, we have to,
I'm not sure what you were looking for.
No, I'm
as
looking
far
Or
as-
a couple week, or a couple, what you had said, a couple weeks before you start.
I wanna do something just to make the point. And then I wanna make the point to you that, you know, this has been a sort of a bad start for a couple of things. And I wanna make the point to you that you know, I could see a show cause hearing having just stuff taken away if you continue to do things that aren't licensed. You see what I'm saying? That's all. You know what I mean? If you did everything, I'm happy as heck. And I love to see people make money and survive and all that. Business is me. I love business. But at the same instance, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
I don't wanna make you, you know, I don't wanna make you suffer too much, but I want you to feel something, you know?
I understand.
And if the permit fee needs to be doubled, then double it, you know, something that
Yeah,
says,
or a week, or
Or a week before she
you
can
know,
start or something like that.
A week before, starting in July, or whatever.
whatever.
I would agree.
You know, she's been, working without a piercing license for a year now. And
No,
piercing-
no.
No,
Only, seriously, it was only like 5 days total. It was when my piercer left,
Yeah,
and then there was like 5 days where I was trying to work, and it took me 5 days to realize I didn't.
Oh, you had a piercer that had a
Yeah,
light,
yeah.
I see,
well,
I see.
let me say this, if you were selling cigarettes, and you 5 days did something 5 days in a row,
Right.
you wouldn't have a cigarette license anymore.
Right.
If you were selling alcohol, and you did things 5 days in a row, you wouldn't have an alcohol license anymore, you see what I'm saying?
I do, I know. I
That's
just
the
wanted to
point.
make it clear it wasn't.
That's the point.
Right.
Okay, that's the point I'm trying to
And-
make.
And the same with, you know, the tobacco, a lot of them don't do it intentionally in selling it, but that
Exactly.
happens.
Yeah, exactly.
And we have to be fair to everyone, that is, in the same situation, that has read the fine print and that sort of thing.
I hate to ask, but is it possible we could do the fine rather than the time, only because I have so many appointments
I-
there?
I think timing, it makes more sense than a fine, in my mind. That would be I think, you know, our fees aren't that much, the fees for tobacco are $1,000, $2,000, and $5,000, that sort of puts a little hurt in, but, I don't think our fees are minimal, and, I think a
What is the
week or
fee?
two, or,
for,
Yeah, what is the fee, do you know?
yeah, I
Gotta be
think
small.
time makes much more sense
I don't think it's much.
myself. And then the question is, depending on what everyone else thinks, is what kind of timing are we looking? If it was 5 days, a week, and she did 5 days without a license, and 1 week from now for a week, and then she goes back.
Kinda tells you something if we say to you, well, here's your license, but you can't use it for 5 days. And then you get to stare at that thing for a while, you know?
I don't have to, it's not approved on the computer, so I don't have to approve it right away.
Oh, really, yeah?
So she wouldn't
Well,
get it
but
in
we can,
hand.
No, if it's been 5 days that even if someone was out, a week or so would make sense, and just because she has people, that's a problem, book without, so.
I hate to see
I
you
would
lose
say
the business.
one,
It's tough because they're not gonna come back, they're gonna go to a different studio.
That's what's gonna happen, yeah, see, she's gonna lose the business, and I hate to see that
And I
happen.
already have been the last few weeks just waiting for the appointment for today.
Yeah,
But you scheduled them without knowing if you even got it, so that's not really our fault.
Yeah, I know.
why don't you wait, and people who will live local and will wait a week to,
All right, so, okay. I
I,
make a motion to
Yes.
approve the piercing for Elizabeth Chase, and that we hold the license for 1 week.
do I have a second?
I'll second that. Do you want to define it as a 7-day week, or,
Yeah, 7 days, yeah, 7 days a week, yeah.
I didn't know if it was a 5-day thing or?
So-
Starting as of tomorrow.
Right,
now,
so
for
tomorrow,
now
then, so
on.
so next, what happens is next Wednesday, she'll have a license.
Do a roll call vote,
Yeah, Patrick Tropiano, yes.
Lawrence Perry is.
and Amy Dugan, yes,
There you
I'm
go.
sorry.
I'm
but-
sorry, but
I appreciate it.
we're not trying to hurt you, but we gotta,
I understand.
you know, everybody could do it, and then we're in big trouble.
Right,
And if somebody ever came down with something, and it had happened,
right.
my God, that would be just horrible.
So-
I wouldn't, it'd be tough to sleep at night, you know what I mean? So,
This
All
is
right.
next Wednesday, I can
The
start.
next Wednesday.
Well, would it be starting tomorrow?
Yeah, it'll be 7 days, we'll put her into next Wednesday,
Okay.
okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right,
Wrong paper. Discussion request by Geo Piercing and Tattoo LLC to the Body Art Establishment Variations.
How are we doing today?
body art establishment.
Hi there.
variation.
How are
How you doing?
Good.
Do you want me to throw that up there?
Yeah, if you could. That'd be great.
Would
Background.
you like to present? Yes.
Oh, yeah, I just wanna throw a background in there. I'm also a dentist, 26 years, and I'm the state dental officer, for the National County. And, the interim actually state surgeon at the moment. But, all of that aside, the reason why I'm coming here today is that, yes, I'm in the process of setting up a tattoo and piercing studio as well, okay? I was the prior piercer at a different studio. And, so at this point, we have a location on Main Street, in the process of doing some build out and things like that. And as we started going through the regulations, and I've been working with the health department from the get-go, making sure that, you know, everything that is required is going to be there. There was a question about, so, right now our proposal is really to receive permission from the Wareham Board of Health to implement portable hand washing stations in lieu of fixed stationary plumbing in a new open tattoo and piercing business, okay? And then if approved, pretty much, I would submit to inspection of equipment, cleaning logs, employee training logs. I put a lot of stuff in here that we probably don't have to kill, you know, too much, but I just wanted to be prepared for any kind of conversation back and forth. In particular, I'll go to the next one.
So just for the, I
Sure.
see on our regs, on page 5 of 14 of the regs, there is a special area that is separate readily, this is what we,
Yeah,
a separate readily accessible hand sink with hot and cold running water under pressure, preferably equipped with wrist or foot operated controls, they don't touch,
Yeah,
and supplied with liquid soap, disposable paper towels stored in fixed dispensers should be readily accessible in the establishment. Each operating area shall have a hand sink.
yeah.
There's a separate for toilet and sink, but this.
Yep.
Yeah, so for each provider or each station, Wareham requires a dedicated sink. So in the process of us going through things, receiving some quotes, you know, we're in the $13,000 range, just to, you know, open up, things like that. So, one thing that I threw up there is, you know, universal precautions. Again, I have 27 years of experience when it comes to universal precautions. I've had my own dental office, things like that. And those are the things that we pretty much, even, you know, even down to the piercing and to the tattooing side of the house, we're always thinking about, okay? Go to the next, please. And I just, by the way, I did break down your regs and stuff, so I.
That's great.
If I'm boring.
I love the, I
I'm
love
sorry.
the.
I went a little mental, so
That's all right.
I'll try to reel it in.
Lovely PowerPoint.
As far as, like, one of the definitions here in particular, hand sink, lavatory equipped with hot and cold running water under pressure using solely for washing hands, arms, or other portions of the body, okay? So I want you to remember that. And if we jump to the next one, that is where the sink requirement comes in. And again, you know, basically what it implements is, so to open up your own studio, what you need is you need a utility sink, and then you need one per provider or station. We have a utility sink, that's not gonna be a problem. It's the other sinks that are issues. Now, so I started thinking and trying to come up with things. I know on the military side of the house, and I'm not gonna throw that around too much, I came straight from work for here. This isn't just a show,
Yeah.
all right? I can show you my orders. But what they have is they have portable sinks now. They have portable sinks that have hot and cold, that run, and I'll show you a couple things as we go, but pretty much run the temperature I know OSHA does not say that there's a specific temperature. There is a temperature that, is required to come out of a hot sink.
But for hand washing, you don't necessarily need to have hot water.
Yes, and one thing just to kind of throw in there too, is that a hand washing station is not a washing station for instruments, and it's not a washing station for anything else. It is to encourage the provider or the person working to turn around and wash their hands, okay? So, that being said, I'll go to the next one, and like I said, if I'm boring you, I'm sorry. But as far as OSHA, one thing that I did see, and I just started trying to grab all these different things, and I said, well, with OSHA, it says lukewarm water to encourage frequent use and effective cleaning. That is the requirement of OSHA for construction, for medical facilities too, if it's in a portable package. We go to the next one. There are, and the reason why I'm throwing up OSHA, FDA, and there will be one other, is that the sinks that I'm looking at are approved by different agencies. So the FDA has just something that kind of throws in that, sure, you should have a hand washing sink for a bunch of different reasons. OSHA also, the next slide, OSHA also has pretty much, there's tips and things that are required to maintain that equipment. So just like a sterilization, so every shop has, every piercing shop has a sterilizer, and that sterilizer has to be maintained. It has to have a log, it has to have a spore, you have to do spore testing, you have to do testing every week, and it's a thing, it's a to-do. But again, that'll guarantee the safety of the public and things like that. So at this point, OSHA has those requirements. If we go to the next one. The other one, which is the National Sanitation Foundation, is a group that takes the equipment and pretty much they put it through their paces and then certifies it. Okay, so that is, for portable sinks, that's the gold standard on that. If I go to, let's go to the next one. That just, again, clarifies the NSF certification. And then this is where it's kind of fun. All right, so the microbial safety. So everyone has issues with portable sinks, okay? In the sense that they say, okay, well, your portables, go ahead, you have a question? Okay. Your portable sink will have a contaminated water after it's used, and it'll have a fresh water system. All right, and these sinks that I'm talking about, and I have it toward the end, is that you're going to have, I think it's a 6 gallon fresh, and I'm sorry, it's a 5 gallon fresh and a 6 waste, and it has a heater that's in there, just like almost like a camper, like an electric heater, and that will get the temperature up to, I think I have that somewhere on one of my slides, but 114 or whatever. Okay. The big thing with the sinks is that they need to be maintained, because if you're familiar with any kind of the medical side of the house, there's biofilms, there's different things that can happen, and when things are just left, water's just left stagnant, there's things that can happen. Now again, going back to the fact that this is just for hand washing, okay? And as far as some of the things that I have down here, one of the things as far as the hand sinks are closed systems. They're closed systems with a door, okay? And pretty much what that does in and of itself, because it's not exposed to light, heating, cooling, back and forth, it does reduce the amount of bacteria that can grow there. Also, the tube that supplies goes from fresh water through into the heating component. It has some copper in it as well, and that copper does serve as well to reduce the biofilm and some of the bacteria. Hold on. And there are, and what I'm pulling from here, I have an article, you can, oh yeah, sorry, yeah, you can keep going.
To which one?
To the double tap to add time, let me see, one more? Yeah. Okay, yeah. And there has been a fair amount of study, and I can pull up articles and things like that, and I can supply that to the board if there's consideration on this. If we go to the next slide. And again, some of the requirements or the recommendations, particularly, and I'll bring it up, is, Legionnaire's bacteria, that's always a big concern. But what's interesting is that Legionnaires in particular has to be between 68 degrees to 113 to kind of take off. So if you have water that's sitting there and is not heated, then you should not have these big issues. Am I boring you yet? I'm sorry. And then as far
It's really the soap and water that
It's
clean
the
it.
anti-
Temperature is not as
Yeah,
important
it's the
as soap
antibacterial.
and water.
Our regulations do say hot water though.
Yeah, okay,
So-
that's right, I'm just saying, it's not as,
I
many
agree.
sinks, I hate to say it, because many people have hot water elsewhere. It's not like in Europe where the hot water is right over the sink where you get on it. If you turn on in an office, hot
Yeah.
water, it might take you 10 minutes for the hot water to
Oh,
come.
absolutely.
So a
Just-
lot in physicians, in hospitals and everywhere, so.
State law that they have to have water in a bathroom, it has to be hot.
Yes, it-
You can't have
Yeah.
just cold
It's
water.
water and soap is the most
So,
important.
water and soap, and the same thing, All right, you all set?
Oh,
We have someone with a question back
So
there, are you okay?
I do
with-
have a question, our
Could you,
regulations state.
excuse me, could you speak,
Hi,
tell me who you
my
are?
name is Jessica Braley, I own Gray Witch's Gallery on Main Street, which is another
It's a
tattoo,
quick
it's
question,
another
he's in the
tattoo
seat to ask questions, so.
shop. Our regs do state 110 to
Yes.
130
I
degrees,
guess,
just so you
right,
know.
right, we know that, I'm just, it's,
yeah, that, if you look at that regulation, that is that doesn't stipulate hand washing station. It stipulates what we were talking about as far as coming right out of the sink,
Right.
kind of thing. And I'll close with a couple things if you want.
so the main thing you're looking for is to be able to use these portable sinks to
Mhm.
start,
Just so they
speed up a
can-
little bit.
yeah.
So to use these portable sinks instead of having sinks that are plumbed,
Yes,
correct?
yeah, and
Okay.
I can show you, I just wanna show you, because it's very different than it was like even 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And these are things that we do use in the military as well, but if you can go one more, and keep going, to the picture one, where there's the picture of the sink. There you go.
One quick question for it, how hard is it for, say, a petite female who, just somebody who may be not strong, to change these, to clean it, to keep them up? How heavy and,
I mean, we're
so
looking-
how easy is it for an office to change
Yeah.
them?
So pretty much what you're looking at there is that, I don't know, a gallon weighs, I
So
don't know.
they're 5, 10 gallons?
Yeah, but how I'm going to set things up is the person who is working the station will end up, with an oversight as well, which is gonna be one of my stations. They're gonna be required, I'm gonna be talking about, nightly things. I need to make sure that things don't stay more than a day or so.
Right.
It should be, it is a quick connect on everything, so it's a quick connect, it comes out, you go over to your utility sink, you empty out. The utility sink should be big enough to fill in some water, and I could even go with these, you could even go with a big pull and string things if you wanted to. Okay, so this particular unit alone, again, the price point is not, it's not a cheap unit. And it's by Ozark, which basically, is one of the premier that's out there. If you wanna go to the next slide, it's NSF certified, and then if you wanna go to the next one, it has the specs, which are it's a fresh water tank, 5 gallon, wastewater.
So small, yeah.
Yeah, wastewater is 60 gallons. Okay, wanna go to the next. Alright, so it's, again, on demand, it's not a pump sink, meaning that this is a sink that you turn on, it's pressurized. So again, if we start thinking about the regulations, it's almost all there. And if you go to Middleborough, and if you go to there are some other Board of Healths that have said yes to things. One thing I can say is, if I keep, yeah, if you want, you can just keep going to, the first one was daily maintenance. One of the big things for me is that I would submit, and I have no problem, I'm an open book, and I've been working like this, where I'm an open book. There will be things that are necessary to maintain this equipment. There are things that are gonna be necessary to maintain the dental autoclave that I have in my spot, that I had at my other shop, or the other shop I worked at. And basically, at that point, I'm good, you know, like I can supply different things. As far as maintenance, there's daily maintenance, there's weekly and bi-weekly maintenance as well. And if you say, how do you clean it? Well, just like a dental unit, you're gonna shock it, you're gonna do different things once a week, you're gonna clean your tanks, you're gonna shock the lines, you're gonna clean everything out, and then kind of move on from there.
What needs?
Well, I mean, there's some different chemicals. Yeah, chlorine's a little bit more caustic, but there are other chemicals that will do the same thing that are, again, approved across the board. So I'm really trying to take maybe some of my dental stuff and bring it over, okay? And, yeah, so,
Great.
You
And can I
know.
ask, Sam, do you have any comments first? I know you've looked at this before.
Yep, so we've been talking back and forth about it, same with Patrick, and if it's just for a hand sink, I feel as though it meets the requirements in our regulations, but that's why we kinda wanna hear from you guys, cause we've never dealt with this.
Yeah, from a
before.
medical perspective, for hand, I mean, the biggest problem in medicine is that people don't wash their hands. That is really it, whether it's physicians in hospitals or wherever, the biggest problem is getting people to wash their hands. You have hand washing, you cut down on C. diff, which is probably not as much of a problem with what you guys are doing, but
Yeah.
most of the hand sanitizers do a lot of the back, but washing also helps with other things.
Absolutely.
So having a sink, if it's running and has warm water and all of that, as long as it can be cleaned, and it obviously is a little bit more care, a little
Lot more
bit,
care.
a lot more effort, you know, like if it's $2,000 almost per unit,
Yeah.
that is pricey too, you got 5, 6.
that's one of the least expensive.
Yeah, and that's fine, so you have 5 sinks, depending on how big your spot is, you know, plumbing, you know, sometimes it's cheaper to plumb, probably, I don't know enough about it,
I'm
but
willing to,
the sink itself looks okay to, the basics that I'm saying, if you do it by the regs.
Correct.
I'm not, it seems okay to me, and any comments from you guys?
I'm not willing to reinvent the sink. Frankly, the sink works really great, and it's easy to clean, and it'll allow contamination down the drain. Nobody has to take out a contaminated thing, nobody has to mess with that stuff, away it goes down the drain. And you wash in front of the sink, and when you wash, you're cleaning the sink at the same time while you're washing it as well, and away it goes. I'm not willing to reinvent the sink because it's gonna
But
cost
this
you,
is-
because it's gonna cost you $13,000 to put in sinks.
So can I?
Everybody else has sinks,
Can I throw
everybody
in-
else has put in sinks.
All right.
No, you can't.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you're all set, you're done as far as I'm concerned talking, okay, because, you know, this was a pretty long presentation. And frankly, you're not gonna get my vote, I wanna see sinks in there, just like everybody else in the industry has, and that's what I feel, okay, and I'm not.
So I don't quite understand, I guess there are, I mean, I like things that are plumbed, that's easy, but certainly, the main reason for having sinks is, these sort of things
Mhm.
are for hand washing, and,
Yeah, that's what hand sinks are for, hand
right,
washing.
but so if there's another way to do it that can give you the same,
It doesn't give you the same, because the maintenance alone, how do you know it's gonna get maintained properly? How do you know somebody's not gonna get lazy or lackadaisical? A sink takes care of itself, it's pretty simple, you know, and everybody else has to have sinks. So I'm just not willing to change and redesign a sink for something as simple as a hand wash. You know, those things, those hand wash sinks, okay, I've seen them used, they were
Yeah.
used a lot during COVID, because
Yeah.
people would put them up on site,
yeah.
right, like on a construction site
Mhm.
or a military site or whatever they were working
Mhm.
on, they would put them up there. And there was no other sink, so that was the case.
Mhm.
But this is a contained business within our 4 walls that you can have sinks in. So put sinks in.
Yeah, how many units,
Yeah.
stations were,
I know I can't talk to him anymore, but I do have, can I interject?
just a quick question,
Yeah,
how many
2.
units? 2.
Two. And and you did say you were friendly with small business, which is unusual to me, because the spot that I'm at this moment, these are older buildings, okay? These are older buildings, and then when you come down to people who are, business owners, okay? You tap into something that's old, you own it. You own the entire thing. So where I am at this moment is that I'm looking at a plumbing situation, and no, despite what, different things are out there, I'm not independently wealthy. So what it comes right down to is that space that I'm in is an older building that has been in Wareham for quite a long time. So if I start going in and then I start plumbing and doing all the things that I can do with 2 jugs and throw it in the sink and move on, then I'm going to own the entire pipeline all the way down. I have 3 quotes, I have 3 different people talking to things, and I'm not saying it because I'm cheap. We have a 1-year lease, we wanna try small business, we wanna try some things, okay? I was
Okay,
working,
Thank you.
yeah. So,
Mr. Perry, have any comments, any thoughts?
I mean, I didn't see a plan or anything. Is this a remote building or I'm just?
no, this is, it's
Is
on
it-
Main
No,
Street.
it's
And
right.
I have a business.
What number, Main?
So does it meet all the other does it have a janitorial sink, a toilet room with a sink and
Yes.
bathroom? It has all that? So
Yeah.
is it just
It's just the 2, hand
It's just-
washing stations.
2 rooms that don't have sinks in them?
No, it's not 2 rooms, it's an open
It's
space.
where they're doing their body art, or piercing.
Just requires hand sinks for every station.
Okay.
And so he
But
has
how
a
far
bathroom.
away are the actual sinks from all
And
this?
that's where like in Bourne, it's a different requirement, I think you have to be 7 feet away. Each station is from the real sink is probably 4 feet, 5 feet away. Right, but the regulation requires it requires a utility sink and a sink per station per provider. So if you, and there's only gonna be 2 people, when it's not 25 people in this space. And we have the business plan, and everything's gone through the building department, everything.
Do you have the plan with you? No, that's okay, I was just
Yeah,
curious.
it's on record, I.
So there's a bathroom in there with a sink,
Yeah.
and there's a utility sink
Yes.
already.
Yeah.
And it's a room that's,
It's a long, it's probably maybe this long, but half the size.
okay.
And, and again, it's,
I mean-
right on Main Street, right?
Yeah,
uh,
I mean, for 2 people with two sinks already there in the spot, it's not like no sinks there, it's a little bit different. And having,
I'd like to see a floor plan to see
All right, so
the areas
and-
and how everything's laid
I can
out.
bring it up.
Because what are we actually varying from? Just the need for one hand
Two.
wash sink or
Per
two?
station.
so every practitioner,
And because the regular sink is 4 feet away and it needs to be.
because
2
in
feet
our
away?
regs.
No, it has to be 1 per, so if there's 2 people working, it has to be 2
I could
sinks.
see varying something if there was no way to put in a sink. But there's ways to put it in, and everybody else has had to do it. Everybody. And I hate to
Right,
say, you
but-
know the last woman that was in front of us? She's in the oldest building in the town. It used to be the old Cranberry buildings. And you talk about a nightmare in plumbing, you should go.
I get that,
nuts.
but if he says he's only renting for a year or so, I also, I don't know, it seems like a way to wash your hands, and there are 2 sinks in the same space, not too far away,
You
it
know,
just,
it's fine, we can disagree, I mean,
it
and,
just,
you know,
certainly for, if you're, just seems like it would work, I don't understand.
well, I think there's too much maintenance involved, I think there's too much stuff that could go wrong.
Well, where would the gray water go?
The gray water goes in, so
Into a
one of the
tank.
There's
things,
a little bucket,
Yeah,
there's another.
But somebody's gotta bring that somewhere to dispose of it.
Correct.
So what's the procedure? What's your
The pr-
SOP?
the but the SOP and what I had said about in the very beginning, when I did the proposal, was that I will, as I've done at Dusk Till Dawn, that's where I used to work, and when I used to maintain my autoclave, that autoclave requires a book. And it's a book of, a log of what you do every day to that equipment. This, per day, per week, whatever, you get roughly about 50 hand washing sessions out of that 5 gallons, okay? All right, that is documented, I have it on here, all right, and it's 15 seconds per, okay? They're saying you're washing your hands, you're moving on. It's not like the ones that you see outside that you pump and the whole thing. But what would be required at the end of.
But it does require an electric pump to work,
Yeah, it's all electricity, it's all self-contained.
for both heating and to pump the water,
Yeah,
whether it's
so
cold
it's a
or hot.
pressurized
So you
system.
need electricity.
Yeah.
So if the power goes out, you have to like shut down operations.
Sure. I mean, and again, what the idea here, and it's not recreating a wheel, what it is that if there's another option and you have someone who I said, I'll open my door to anyone to come in and see what is involved as far as taking care of these things.
Well, that's what I was just wondering, like, somebody has to empty this gray water, so where do you walk over to the toilet, or do you go,
I mean, there's a
what's the
utility.
plan?
So, and I'm trying to find, I'm a little flustered, but I'm trying to find my diagram. But in general, can I use the table for a second? So in general, utility sink is right here, okay, so the utility sink is here. There will be a station right there and another station right there. So what you do is you take out, and you're not gonna use, it's gonna be probably a day or two before you have to empty everything. You take that out, you walk over to the utility sink, which is in the common area, you dump that out, and then,
That's the mop sink.
that's the mop sink, yes.
And then you gotta fill up the other bottle to bring back to put into the thing, so you have water.
If you're out, or if you want
Well, I
Poland
mean,
Springs.
5 gallons doesn't last very long. I mean, I wash my hands, and I can't wash my hands in 15 seconds either, but, you know, you say you can.
So your clean water is coming from the same sink that you dump in the wastewater?
I wouldn't want my doctor washing my hand for 15
I won't
seconds.
do that. But I can, you know, again,
Well,
you can bring the water from any source you want. And if it's gonna be, and we had talked about this, if it's required by the board, that's why I'm here. I'm not saying I want you to do me a favor. What I'm saying is that I'm willing, with new technology and the fact that I've done this for 26 years, as far as maintaining equipment, that I can maintain that equipment and be responsible to everyone else and pave the way for something else. But once again, if you're gonna try to get small business to open up into any of these older buildings, right? If you wanna invest $20,000, $30,000 in a space like the old Cranberry space, okay. I'm going to be a retired veteran. That's it. This is my retirement. So I'm not going to invest a tremendous amount in a space that I don't own. So the options are, where can we go with healthcare things? That's what it comes down to. And it's called a waiver, or it's called a variance, or whatever, but, yeah, and, you know, again, I'm
Yeah, thank you.
so my first concern was we don't go against the plumbing code. The state plumbing code was changed this year,
mhm.
and there's a lot of new requirements that it's caused a lot of problems.
The hand
Remote
sink in
buildings now
particular.
have to have bathrooms and sinks, and we had to put in one for a remote filtration in your filtration plant. Whereas before, nobody's there on a daily basis or an hourly basis, so they had to put in a septic system, whole toilet sink. But this seems a little different. We already have a building that has potable water and a toilet, but we're just varying from the number of sinks that have that, it sounds like.
Yes.
But without a plan, it's hard for me to, I would
Think
make
about it
a
and have
motion
it-
to table it for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
And he could come back with a plan, and then we could,
look at
So,
some of these
maybe
regs and
Sam could check with the plumbing inspector, just to make sure that,
Talk to him.
do you need a plumbing permit for this portable station that's going
Yeah,
in there?
I've
And
never
then
heard
we-
of it. It's new to us.
so probably not.
Yeah, I don't know how it
But
fits
if
into
it's
the
It's a
plumbing
gray
code.
area.
It's
Yeah.
a portable one that they can use you know, as he said out when COVID was there, I'm sure as they say, the military uses when you have spots where you need to be able to hand wash.
And they would use it on
Yeah.
construction sites
Uh,
like
you
crazy.
So if we
know.
had like a floor plan to lay everything out and we can see how many actual facilities there are as opposed to how many ones that don't meet the requirements are, and then we could look at SOPs or O&M contracts, how he's gonna be changing these. Maybe it's something we could approve if everybody's comfortable with that. But right now, it's hard for me to
So,
understand why
let's-
this building is so difficult to put a
Let's bring
sink
it back next time, gives us a little chance to think about it, and maybe in 2 weeks, our next meeting is,
Table it for 2 weeks and
yeah,
then maybe that would
is
give you
on the
a
ninth.
floor plan together.
No,
or-
I
Two weeks
have
ago.
to, that's
2
what's
weeks is
bothering me. I have
Juneteenth,
the
I
plan
think,
and
right?
it's
Right, so
submitted
it's
to the
not, so,
building.
excuse me, so, on the 19th, we don't have a meeting. So then the next one, because it's a holiday. And potentially the 3rd then. I think that's fair, it's something new, people have some considerations of it and get a little bit more information.
And has this space been inspected? Do you guys have a checklist when you go in for a new business and check off that they meet, like, the
have
janitorial
a-
sink and all that?
We have that tattoo shop inspection list.
Okay, but you haven't done it yet, cause this is still.
I have not been in his,
Okay,
I've not been in there yet.
so at some point that would get done before he could
Before.
open, if
Absolutely.
we decided to go through with these
Before he
changes.
opens, I will
Okay.
definitely be in there,
Yeah,
yes.
Okay.
okay.
Do you want, by the way, do you want to see the space
Maybe.
with, and I'm just
Yeah, next, so
wondering
we
because,
have a couple other things to do and we'll
Okay.
spend, you know.
alright, because we're on track to, right now, we're paying for the space. So, we have signed a lease and we're paying for it. So that was when I talked to her about this, she had mentioned it was either now or maybe the 26th or whatever, and I said, well, gee, I'm gonna jump on that because we're paying. So we signed, and then we found out about all these things that are going on, with the older plumbing. And once again, it's an easy fix, sure, take out one and go crazy, but I'm improving a property that's not gonna be my property, and I don't know how long. So that was the thing, and the building department has my schematic, they have everything. So we've already gone through, I go by the letter of the law, so I've gone by everything. So everyone has the
So,
information.
Yeah,
So was this approved
Okay.
for use previously by another business?
Yes, it was a dog grooming place that had a sink, and that's the utility sink that's in there.
okay.
Yes.
So we'll bring it up again next time, gives everybody time, I'm sorry,
No, it's
because
fine.
everybody wants to
Yep.
take over something new, so it always takes a little longer. Thank
No,
you.
no problem, thank you.
So, next is discussion and possible vote of body art establishment and practitioner piercing and tattooing regulations. So, in looking over our regulations, we could start looking at them, if we'll get through it all
Yeah,
today.
I don't,
It's quite long,
I just have one question. I
Yeah,
don't know
explain.
how this, Jessica Rayleigh again, Grey Witches Gallery. I
would you
have-
come forward to
yes,
speak, please? Yes.
I am a tattoo artist in town. I saw that this was on the warrant,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be involved. And I don't know how I go about that. So I showed up, I came in to talk to Sam.
To be involved regarding,
With this process. I wanted to see what was happening, and I just
oh,
wanted to be.
yeah, so you just come and listen.
All right, great. Thank you. That's
You're
all I
welcome,
have.
yeah, great that you're here, that's why it's on the warrant, and wonderful, I see a couple others are.
When, I
Here
did
too.
have one other question about the previous matter. Would there be a time, oh, sorry. I forget my it's okay, it's okay. Would there be a time for me to speak, to get put on the warrant, to speak about the last issue? About that tattoo shop and the sinks? My shop is very close to the same spot. We went through all the same issues. We paid 13 grand for our sinks. He is in an area, so I think you're pretty familiar with the renovations that they're trying to do downtown. Okay, so downtown, they're trying to, excuse my voice, a little shaky.
Village district, so they're trying to
Yeah.
put.
Yeah, so they're trying
Put stuff
to
upstairs.
get rid of some buildings.
Which building is this that?
So
You know,
I'm in
you know where
Deacon's.
Riverside is Riverside?
right next door,
He's, right next door, basically.
Okay.
in the same building as
Yeah,
Riverside.
exactly.
He's in a super flood-prone area. It's flooded, I think, 5 times up, I mean, over car windows and stuff down there near Cumbies.
Good.
He's in a building that I think that hand washing system being
Hurricane
in
comes through,
way.
that whole building goes under, a whole
That-
street goes under.
Yeah, that's what I mean, and we're further up, we're closer, we're in the Deacon's building further up,
Yeah,
but we're still susceptible to
yeah,
it.
that's not very.
And we had to plumb everything.
That's not very much
Right.
further.
Yeah, well, I know, trust me, I
The
know
next
how close.
You
it is.
already come
building.
before, so this, that's a separate, but
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we can briefly,
Yeah, we're gonna have to do
we
something.
can,
We
if
need-
anyone has any brief comments on, and then we'll look at these and maybe next,
I think we've talked about that, we need to have a better separation in there.
Yes,
Right.
For the two
definitely.
things, so I
Right.
think somebody needs to do some homework on that.
I don't think it's clear, because it says piercing and tattooing right at the top,
I think
and
it
it's
could
not
definitely
super
be-
clear in here.
You know,
Yeah.
and the other thing too is, how many tattoos and piercing places are we gonna allow in town? I mean, is it time to set some kind of goals as far as how many are here?
You tell me.
I mean, it seems like we're getting one every other day that wants to be here, and it's gonna end up putting most of them out of business.
Right,
This
well,
will be
if
number
they're-
4.
Hmm?
He would, Gio would be number 4, I believe, in town.
Yeah.
And I mean, I
considerable
don't know,
number.
it's, you know,
You know, we have a limit on the number of cigarette licenses, we have a limit
Yeah,
on the number of
that's
alcohol
different.
licenses. No, it's not different, it's the same. We have a limit on the number of used car places, we have a limit on a whole lot of different stuff. I mean, and the reason why you do that is because you want your businesses to thrive and not be, if you got 5 weak businesses, that's not good. Especially if you can have 4 good businesses, you know what I'm saying? Because then you end up with issues all the time, I mean, that's all I'm saying. And
So if
matter of
it-
fact, we had a movie theater, remember the movie theater? You know the plaza that's out there? They wanted to put a movie theater in there. But when they passed the site plan for that, they made sure they couldn't put a theater in there, because the guy had just spent $8 million down the street. He would have been out of business, or at least could have put them both out of business. So sometimes you have to listen to that stuff.
but is that really, I mean, that's not really a Board of Health issue of how many, that's not our.
Well, I think how
is it?
many there are, isn't
You know,
it?
if we have 10, eventually people won't come because there are too many and they're not gonna have enough business, so at some point it self-regulates itself. If they're 4 and somebody and they're not getting enough business, more people aren't gonna come, but I'm not sure, is that really a Board of Health? Our issue is what the sinks are and what we're doing, but is that truly a
Well,
Board of Health issue?
why is it the Board of Health issue to decide how many cigarette places there are?
Well, cigarettes are a little bit different,
Why are they different?
more dangerous.
Oh, they're more dangerous, and piercing and stuff isn't dangerous if
No,
it's
the
not done
smoking.
properly?
But if they're done properly, you're talking about how many people, if they're earning enough money, that's a whole separate
Well, but it's the
issue.
same thing.
Yeah.
You know what
well,
happens when people don't earn enough money? They
They-
cut corners.
Right, but the reason with the reason with the cigarettes is so that we have less cigarettes with time, less selling in town. There's one town in, we're getting off topic, but where everybody has to
Really,
be
we're talking about the
born
regulation.
you know, they have to be born in this century to buy a cigarette. Anyway, that's a whole nother.
Well, if we were really protecting public health, there wouldn't be any cigarettes.
Correct,
So
correct.
it's kind of a,
Well,
what do you call that, an oxymoron?
it is an oxymoron.
Permitting.
That's exactly what it
is. I don't know if it's about non-compete or something else, but that's a whole nother issue.
All right,
Maybe we can all look also more at the body arts. We don't have, it's really many pages to read.
it really is.
Let's maybe do homework if anyone doesn't
I
mind
think
too
that's
much.
the thing, yeah.
And bring it back. You guys can look at it,
Yep.
Ms. McDonald can look at it.
Yep.
And, I do, is it important to have two? I think it is, cause tattooing and piercing you want people licensed
At
in them
least
each.
separate sections
There
and
should
not
be, it should be
intertwine them.
clear, that you need a license for each of this, a separation.
And we need to put some penalties and some teeth in this thing for people who violate the regulations.
There is a violation, but it doesn't have much teeth in it.
No, it doesn't.
I think we
And,
need more.
yeah, so that's the same with tobacco early on, this is what our tobacco looked like early on.
Are there state licenses for piercers or tattoo artists or no?
Not that I'm,
It's all up to
no,
us?
I think it's just town.
You're the
So
guy.
those separate.
So who actually determines the training program and who's qualified to do it or not?
Yes, would you like to speak on
I
that
would like
subject?
to speak on that subject.
I mean, I don't know
I
that much
actually-
about
I actually
pursuing
came
your
in-
body.
What's your name again?
My name is Jess Braley. I
Jess.
came in, I came in the other day to talk to Sam about this. Most towns have a 7 to 10 year requirement for a master artist to teach. Wareham has no requirement other than that you have a license, which could mean an apprentice just out of a 2-year
Oh.
program could teach.
Yeah, see, that's problematic.
No.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
that's why I'm here tonight, because I really wanted to see that added to our rules.
Well, that's
Right, are there
problematic.
any other, since we're on the subject of the regs and rules, that if you've obviously read it, that you, I mean, that's a very
I mean,
good point,
I
that's
have
a,
notes.
that's a very good idea.
It's kinda loose,
So,
the
you
way
know,
they do
certainly,
all this.
you know, somebody just
So-
out of medical school isn't
We
gonna
have
start
state
training
licenses to
people,
do
so.
what we do.
So my guess
Yeah,
would
I know.
be
Yeah,
somewhere
yeah.
under number 11, where it's the application for body art and apprentice license, piercing and tattooing, that it could be added as a requirement in there that the master artists have, whatever. I think that's how they do it in New Bedford, and I think that's how they do, New
Yeah.
Bedford's, apprentice.
Patrick and I were looking at all the different towns,
Yeah,
and
New
they're
Bedford
definitely,
in
more
particular do
strict.
that.
So they require at least 5 years.
I think it's 7 to 10 at
I
most.
think you're right. Another thing we noticed is that we've had issues in the town where there's an apprentice in the shop, but the practitioner is not present
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've had that
So-
issue.
at dusk till dawn. She goes to LA for 2 weeks, and the apprentice is there working by himself.
Yeah, that
So I
can
think
happen.
that should also be added into our regs, that if there's an apprentice there, the practitioner has to be present.
Yeah, that, we have an hour requirement, but it doesn't mention that it's an hour requirement under supervision,
Correct.
which is something that it has to.
Yeah, I
It
know
has to
that.
be. Our apprentices can draw, they can do breakdowns and setups without you there, they can do thousands
Sure.
of things, but they should not be touching human skin at all, at all.
I could agree with you.
It's just not okay. One of the things I had a question about was the requirement for the skin course under the apprentices.
What pa- what was
This is number 11, B1.
Be what,
So it's a college level anatomy and physiology class. Most people in the industry do what is called a skin course. It's offered in a couple different places. My question is, in order to get your apprentice license, you're learning that during your apprenticeship? Should it be a requirement to get the apprentice license?
Yeah, well, it takes
Because
a
you would have to
while,
have it,
the course takes a while to do.
no, it's one day.
The college level
Oh,
anatomy
no,
physiology
So
class?
the skin course, it's another course that's offered by the Quincy Board of Health
Yeah,
that is an equivalent to that is accepted across the board.
but for one day,
Yes.
but you can't learn
As opposed to a
an.
college level credit
You
course?
can't
Yeah,
learn
that doesn't
anatomy
make
and
sense.
physiology
It's
in one
across
day.
across the Massachusetts board, the skin
My
course
God,
One
I
is
day,
accepted.
and you, I mean, how will they
Yeah.
even be able to read that paragraph of what you shouldn't do?
I had 2 semesters in
That's-
college
I
in
mean,
anatomy and
that's-
physiology.
It's a standard requirement, it's the skin course and it's only a day, yeah. And that subs for that requirement.
But that's Quincy.
No, that's the whole state, every town has a
But
skin
well,
course
it's not-
requirement. I've never been in, I've worked in 7 towns, I've never had a town that didn't require that skin course.
Well, but just because you require the skin course doesn't mean you don't require other courses.
Oh, but that's, so the skin course is a direct equivalent to this. You
Well, it
can't say-
can't be a direct equivalent, because this says, to qualify an apprentice license, you must complete the following: college level anatomy and physiology class.
Or equivalent course approved by
Wareham.
Wareham Public.
But,
So like-
equivalent, I can tell you,
But that-
college level
This is
anatomy
it,
course
right?
is.
Yeah, that's the skin, I don't know if that's
Is it
mine, but
3
that's the
months?
This is the
course,
skin
yeah.
course.
That's-
College
I-
level anatomy and physiology class is a 3-month course.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Yeah,
offered
it
by
is.
the Quincy
Sounds like
Public
you're
Department of
gonna
Health,
write
and
up
it's
It's usually
accepted
2
in every
semesters.
town I've ever been in.
Definition.
It's
Yep, so
usually
it's in
To
your
be honest,
packet.
that's what everybody here has.
It's 2
A 1
semesters.
day,
Yeah,
It's 2 semesters, anatomy and physiology.
yeah, well,
With
yes.
labs.
Yes,
Correct.
I know. So,
and I mean, I'm not gonna disparage tattoo artists, but we're not talking about the cream of the crop academically.
no, I got attention at college level,
I did 9 years
She
of
said
college,
that.
I couldn't send
I
books
love
to my people to.
but at 6, I said, maybe this shouldn't be written this way, but then,
Yeah.
but a
Probably
1
should
day,
tighten up
but
this
a
language.
1 day
I
I
sounds too
agree,
little.
I agree, and I
We
agree.
gotta tighten this up.
One day
But
skin
there's
course
no-
is like, there's no
I
way you can
mean,
even.
I have honestly thought about seeing if we could offer a more comprehensive skin course through the Board of Health here for Bristol County, Decatur, and South Shore. Right now, Quincy is the only place doing it. There's one place, I think in, do you know where Zaza is? Worcester. I think it's Worcester, Plainville area. Those are the only two places that teach it. And it's a requirement, and almost every artist I know, I can't think of anybody that has had a STEM course that was more than that, or actually had anatomy and physiology.
So
I
does
did
that,
college biology, but.
if that's true, everyone's going against our regs.
No,
Because
we all submit the STEM
No,
course.
but you
Because
have
it's
to,
an equivalent.
excuse me, our regs say a college level anatomy and physiology class or equivalent.
There's no way a
And
one-day
so,
course
a
is
one-day
equal
course
to
is
that.
not equivalent, equivalent mean you
But the
learn-
state recommendations were that course.
But
That's what I'm saying.
our regs state you have to have more than that. So the question becomes, for right now, everyone should be getting a little bit more of a course than what they're getting from what you're saying. So this is something to look at and,
Yes.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
make, cause that's a huge issue.
We gotta
I
do
don't,
more.
not sure, I would agree with a one-day
I know.
course. Just a
One
little
day?
bit, I think there's more to it than one day. Just the
Absolutely.
bacteria you can get, so, the bacteria you can get on the skin, the infections you can get on the skin, the anatomy itself, even basic skin anatomy and all, that's, you need a little bit more than one day.
You couldn't remember it
I
after
covered
one day.
all of that in there. I mean,
And some people
I
need
can only
more than
speak
one
to
day
what
to
everybody else
remember.
did, I didn't set the standard.
So we'll have to look more into this.
Yeah.
Which means
So-
everybody in our town who's practicing is not practicing per our regs, which we didn't, because
Because we'll need.
it's not equivalent, so.
What we deemed it was, when we gave them a
Yeah.
license, we
We-
deemed it equivalent.
Or we didn't know,
That's exactly what we did. Yeah.
Or we-
Inadvertently, we did that.
or we
Right.
didn't
In every
know,
town I've ever worked in. for the
or we
last 17
didn't
years.
know
Because
that
we
their
need to tighten up
course
this
was that
language. Maybe we
tight.
should get rid of the equivalent.
Yeah. I mean, we should
And
just,
treat it as a variant. If they don't have a college level
what do you
accredited
have,
course,
We're gonna
then
have
they
to
would
figure it out.
come
We're gonna have to do
from
more homework on this.
I would
Other
find
towns.
out what everybody has
Yep.
here.
Yeah,
If it's just that skin course, to me,
scary.
that's not an equivalent.
it doesn't seem
I
like
can
enough
speak to
to
our
me.
whole shop, that's everything we have.
Doesn't
So
seem to
there
be enough.
needs, so then it'd be
Same for
interesting
Plymouth.
looking at other towns, look at some of the,
Oh, yeah, we did,
yeah,
we have been. We
and
looked
they're
at
all the
Plymouth
same.
Yep,
Are there state model regulations?
and I'm not
We'll
positive,
have to check on that too, I
I-
think.
I could look
Ray
into
had
that,
one with me.
And,
Because usually DPH would provide some model regulations that towns could adopt.
probably.
We could look at
Patrick
and
wrote
see how
me
ours
notes, that's
differ.
all I got.
so that's, all right, so we'll bring this
Okay.
back at our next and look at all this. We should also look at what the state or
I
other
agree.
states, maybe other states more recommend is the minimum guidelines.
Sure.
Maybe, I'm not sure how, I thought this came from the state when we printed it up, I thought Pat,
I wasn't here.
Mr.
Before my
It did, it's
time.
word for word the state
But if it's the
regulations.
state, then other practitioners
They're not, they
that
can't,
are not
If you-
practicing appropriately, because they're not doing a college level anatomy and physiology
which you
class.
cannot call a one-day course an
No.
equivalent by
No.
any stretch of the imagination.
So,
Absolutely not.
Well, then on the next page, it does go into anatomy, physiology with a grade C or better at a college accredited by the New England Association of Schools and Colleges.
Imagine
Is
that.
that for piercers?
It's
Tra-
under both piercing and tattooing.
Only because there's a different standard for piercers, because they go through the skin versus,
the applicant for a piercing, so that's under parts, application for body
Body art.
practitioner permit, piercing and tattooing, number 12. Go down to 8, which is under D, it's D8, this is poorly worded, D8C. The applicant for a piercing practitioner permit shall provide documentation, that's the piercing specifically.
But this is about apprenticeship, the first one. So maybe that, it's lesser standards for the apprentice, but then before they can get their actual,
that was my initial question here before we got into the.
then you have to
Right.
get into that
How good my qualifications
college
actually
course
were.
with a C or better. I think,
Permit.
because they both,
Yeah, we got
But
that.
these college I mean, so
We got a lot of looking
we
at
need
here.
some homework, we'll have to look up a little bit. more.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's possible you guys are required more by someone and, no one's doing it, so will look odd, be interesting, you know. I think more than a one-day course does make sense to me, maybe a 6-month course is a little killing, overdone, and just common sense, it seems like.
Yeah, you'll never get, it'll take the industry, you'll never get it, but
Thank you for your
Right.
input.
we'll try, yeah.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you for your
for
input.
coming,
And
and
I'll see you soon.
Yes, I'll talk to you.
we'll hope
Okay.
you
I'll see
come
you
back at our
soon.
next discussion.
Oh, yeah, I'll be a fixture
Thank
as
you.
much as I can.
Health
So,
insurance report.
next, health agents report, do you have something to say
Yeah,
on that?
there's
Sam?
really not too much. We're still doing inspections, beach water sampling starts on Tuesday. We have 2
Ours, that's
interns.
next week too.
Yep, we have 2 interns this time. I met them today. One's from UMass Dartmouth and one's still in high school, but they seem like they're ready to work. It's very exciting.
Good.
Have they done it before, or do you take them out and show them the ropes? or-
Nope, Tuesday I'll go out with them and show them how it works. And then after that, they're kinda on their own. If they need me, I'm here.
And they transport the samples to the lab for you and all that?
Yep, so no Barnstable traffic, which will be
There
fantastic.
you go.
I can actually do my job. So that's exciting, but other than that, there's really not much. Robin has sent out, well, she is in the process of sending out, we have a bunch of rentals who haven't paid yet. So we wrote up a nice, Robin typed up a letter, and they'll all be sent out hopefully within the next week to everybody who hasn't paid to
Yes.
try to get that money in.
Time to do that, boy.
But the rental program is a work in progress, but
Well, that's a big program for you guys because it helps
Huge.
defray a lot of the costs.
yeah,
And without it, we could be in trouble.
absolutely.
One of the things we were speaking about earlier, about the office, is that we have some other people working in the office, and whether they come online one day or come into the
Yeah.
meeting. We have Mr. Ethier, who's been back for almost 8 years. I don't think everyone knows, you do, I know, but, it'd be nice that one of our meetings, when we get back together, that everybody comes in and
Oh
gets
yeah,
introduced.
Bob is
to-
more than willing to come in.
Yes, I know, he'd love to come in. But some of the other,
You're
our
gonna schedule
other
a 2.5
part-time
hour meeting for
secretary,
that one?
and
Might as
it'd
well.
just be nice that everybody knows,
You-
so maybe,
If you're gonna have
you know.
Bob come in, you gotta schedule a 2.5 hour meeting.
No, no.
We can get him to stop very quickly.
Yes, so, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't really, under infectious disease, nothing, really new for today, we're sort of late.
Yeah,
We're
sorta.
still, I saw a case of flu at the end of May still.
Did you really?
Unusual, I'm telling people they
Oh.
don't do their flu shots, and then we had somebody who was sick with flu, so
Wow.
we're still seeing sporadic cases
My
lingering
son
on.
got it in May.
Yeah, it's unusual. Then, any announcements, anyone?
I move we approve the minutes of May 15th, 2024.
Do I have a second for that?
I second.
And roll call vote,
Patrick Tropiano, yes.
Lawrence Perry, yes.
and Amy Dugan, yes. Great, I do, next time we'll also put on, at the last meeting, we talked about, besides these regs, putting on the smoking regs too. There were just a
Sure.
couple of small
Yeah.
issues, okay?
People not paying.
There's no
Any
40
other-
hour? No emergency stuff, no?
No.
Okay, then I move we adjourn.
I second.
All those in
Patrick
favor?
Tropiano, yes.
Lawrence Perry, yes.
Hey,
Thank you, you may turn off
off
the
like a herd
video.
of turtles.
So take your things off.